So today's video is on a concept that took me a long time to understand. Literally just today it kind of hit me as I'm, thinking about my future self, how I can become self-sovereign, which is part of my decentralized lifestyle. I kind of was really just, pondering why, I feel certain ways when I'm trying to become someone else, become a better version of myself. And how can I get through that? Because I think, a big issue for, at least myself and probably you as well, is our emotions get in the way of the person we want to become. A lot of us want to wait until we feel like that person, right? But it's actually the opposite. You actually have to act like that person first, or think like that person first, and then the emotions and the identity catch up. Emotions and identity are lagging indicators of the person you eventually want to become. That's what I realized today. And it was kind of like an epiphany, right? Because it really messes you up. It gets in the way. Because it's uncomfortable. It feels unnatural. And it can be distracting or deterring, which is why it's also important to remain detached from your emotions and feelings. Because if you think about it, right, any action or any thought you take, feelings, the emotions always come, or the results always come afterwards. It could be immediate or it could be delayed. For example, working out, doing 100 pull-ups a day like I'm doing. I didn't get the results immediately, right? It takes weeks, months, maybe years for some people to reach the end goal or the results that you want for your body. Same thing with becoming, same thing with the emotional aspect of it too, the mental side of things. It takes, repeated practice, repeated evidence for your mind to comprehend and understand. Like the discomfort you're putting your body through. To normalize that, it takes years. But yet, a lot of us, quit and try to return back to the old self because of those unnatural or discomfort feelings. So, the first key takeaway is to act as if, you've heard that phrase many a times. Act as if you are the person you already want to be. And how would that person think? What would that person do? Right? And then later in life, I don't know how many, it depends, right? It depends on your timeline and your resilience, how much later those feelings will start to feel normal. Because, at first, it's going to feel unnatural, right? But that's part of it. Your identity and those normalized, or the emotions becoming normalized, will follow after. But it's just an important thing to recognize, are those feelings that come after you act, or after you think the way you want to think as your future higher self. Which brings me to point number 2, or the second key takeaway, is to not to revert, is to make sure that, like I said, make sure you recognize that. I want to emphasize this, is to make sure you recognize those emotions that flood you when you take that step into discomfort. Because those unnatural feelings, those emotions that are foreign to you, or that really want to drive you back to the old self, will be very strong. And I have fallen victim to that many, many times. And I still do to this day. And I'm trying to catch myself, and I'm trying to work my way through that when I do feel that way. But I'm not like, I'm human. I still fail at that too. So it's a tricky, tricky game. Becoming, the best version of yourself possible. Because it's unfamiliar. And as humans, we, just from like a survival instinct, we seek comfort, right? It's part of our nature. But in order to grow and become that person, you constantly have to step outside of that comfort zone, which is why, manufacturing self struggle or some type of discomfort is important, on a consistent basis. But just to wrap things up, because this was a really important thought I had, and something I want to remember, is that the emotions, or whatever comes, the emotions always follow some type of action or thought, just something that you put into emotion, right? The emotion follows that, whether it's immediate or somewhere down the line, right? And that's just something that I need to constantly remind myself. So there's no such, so forget about immediate gratitude, but you also need to put your emotions in check when you do feel something discomfort immediately, right? So there's two things there. Don't expect immediate results, because as humans we get impatient. And then also remember, and this is a difficult one, don't crumble under pressure. Don't revert to the old self because you feel discomfort right away, right? So you need delayed gratification, and then you also need immediate self-restraint. You need to stay stoic and composed. Yeah. I think that wraps that up. That is just something I had to get off my chest and kind of dive deep into that idea, that theory, that concept right there, around how emotions could be are always a lagging indicator, whether it's, just after the act, right? That's still lagging, that still occurs after some type of thought or action, or whether it's somewhere down the line, like maybe a week later, a month later, right? This emotion, this feeling sets in, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it feels like to be this person. So short of it is, keep your emotions in check as you're trying to improve your life and head towards self-sovereignty.